This is the story of Snow White. One snowy winter's day, a queen sat sewing by her window. She accidentally pricked her finger with the needle. Ouch! And 3 drops of blood fell on the snow. The queen looked at the bright red blood on the white snow against the black wood of the window frame, and she thought, I wished I had a child with lips as red as blood, skin as white as snow, and hair as black as ebony wood. Sometime after that, the queen gave birth to a little girl with deep red lips, snowy white skin, and glossy hair as black as ebony. She called her Snow White. Sadly, the queen died, and the king married again. His new wife was beautiful but cruel and selfish. She had a magic mirror, and every day she looked into it and said, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" And every day the mirror replied, "You, O queen, are the fairest of all." But as Snow White grew up, she became more beautiful. And so one morning when the queen asked the mirror, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" "You, O queen, are fair, it's true, but Snow White is much fairer than you." In a jealous rage, the queen called the huntsman. "I never want to see Snow White's face again," she told him. "Take her into the forest and kill her." The huntsman took Snow White to the edge of the forest, but he couldn't hurt her. He said, "Run away, child. Don't ever come back, or the queen will kill you." Poor, scared Snow White. She was all alone, lost in the forest, running for her life. Toward nightfall, Snow White came to a little house deep in the forest. She knocked softly, but there was no answer, so she let herself in. Inside, Snow White found a table and 7 tiny chairs. Upstairs, there were 7 tiny beds. "I'm so tired," she yawned, and she lay down and fell fast asleep. A while later, she woke with a start. 7 little men were standing around her bed. "Who are you?" she asked. "We are the 7 dwarfs who live here," said one of the little men. "We work in the mines all day. Who are you?" "I am Snow White," she replied, and she told them her sad story. The dwarfs felt sorry for Snow White, and they wanted to help. "If you will cook and clean for us," said the eldest dwarf, "you can stay here, and we will keep you safe." Snow White was gratefully agreed and began that very evening by cooking the dwarfs a pot of tasty hot soup for their supper. When they left for work the next morning, the dwarves made Snow White promise not to go out or open the door or speak to anyone. Meanwhile, the queen was back at her magic mirror, she was shocked by what she told her. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" The mirror said, "You are the fairest here, it's true, but there is someone fairer than you. Deep in the forest, in a cozy den, Snow White lives with 7 little men." "What?" shrieked the queen. "Snow White is alive?" In a wild frenzy, she raced to her secret chamber in the darkest depths of the castle. There, the queen, who was really a wicked witch, brewed a deadly potion and poisoned a rosy red apple. Distinguishing herself as an old peddler woman, she set out for the 7 dwarfs' cottage. Snow White was busy in the kitchen. While she was home, she heard a tapping on the window. She looked up to see an old woman peering in. "Apples for sale," the old woman croaked. "Try my lovely red apples." And she handed the poison apple to Snow White. Snow White couldn't resist. She took a big bite and fell down motionless. The queen cackled with delight and hurried home to her magic mirror, and at last it gave her the answer she wanted. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" "You, O queen, are the fairest of all." The dwarfs wept bitterly when they came home to find their lovely Snow White totally still on the floor. They carefully laid her in a glass case and watched over her day and night. One day, a prince came riding through the forest. When he saw the beautiful girl in the glass case, he instantly fell in love with her. "Please take her back to my castle," he begged the dwarfs, and they agreed. As the dwarfs helped to lift the case, one of them stumbled, and a piece of apple that was stuck in Snow White's throat came loose. Snow White coughed, and her eyes flew open. "Where am I?" she gasped. "You are with someone who loves you more than life itself," said the prince. "Please marry me." Snow White looked in the prince's kind, gentle eyes and knew she loved him too. "Yes," she said, "I will." And so they were married with the dwarfs beside them. They all lived happily ever after in the prince's castle for the rest of their long lives. The end.